The war of 1948 is over. Israel is here to stay. The Jewish people have a historical and cultural and deeply felt connection to the land of Israel. They are not foreigners. They belong there and have the right to self-determination. You are not still refugees from a war that ended 70 years ago, and there will be no return because there is no such right. Not for you, not for the Germans, not for the Ukrainians, not for the Poles, not for the Hindus, not for the Muslims. Nobody has that right, and you're not special. Now, I know that these are not pleasant messages. I'm from the political left. In Israel, one of the things that people from the left, I think, like to believe is that they belong to the camp of the good. You know, we are for good things, compromise, equality, justice. I had to go through a very wrenching and difficult emotional process to understand that even though I support two states and no settlements and end to the occupation and dividing Jerusalem and all of these things, as far as I'm considered from the Palestinian perspective, it doesn't make me a nice person, because I still think that the Jewish people should have a state in the other part of the territory. And that's still, from their perspective, a terrible idea, a vile idea. So I had to wrestle with the fact that I'm not a nice person. And I accept it, because ultimately I do believe that the right of the Jewish people to self-determination is one of the most justified ideas. And I think that it doesn't have to come at the expense of the Palestinians. We can live side by side. But if their vision is that there's no room for me, what is there to negotiate? So I think they first have to accept that this is it, that they can live next to Israel, but not instead of Israel. And then we can negotiate. For decades, Jews in Israel were told, what you have with Egypt, what you have with Jordan, that's the best you can hope for. As long as the situation with the Palestinians continues, this is what peace is, which means barely any diplomatic relations. You have security cooperation, yes, but no cultural relations, no tourism, no warmth. And now we're seeing the reverse. The Arab world turning away from decades of anti-Zionism, which means also embracing Jewish life. And all of it is clear in one word, Abraham. There is no simple, shorter way of sending the message of flipping the narrative. If the dominant narrative in the Arab world, still is that Israel is a foreign settler colonial state, the best way to flip it is by saying Abraham. Abraham means acknowledging that the Jewish people belong in the region, that they have a history here, a culture, an attachment. And this is what the Gulf states have been doing with these normalization agreements. I think one of the most dangerous things for Jews is to feel politically homeless, because I think political homelessness is the first step to other forms of homelessness. And what you're doing is defending the possibility for Jews and Zionists to have a home in the Democratic Party. And I can think of no higher calling at this moment.